I spent half my life learning one lesson. Good men are hard to come by. So when I met Lucas Roberts, I decided to take the initiative. First, I made sure to show up at his company every day, making my presence known. For the sake of love, I even played the role of the clumsy woman. One time I purposefully slipped and ended up sitting right on his lap. Leaning back in his chair, Lucas Roberts, ever composed and distant, smirked lazily. What's this? Trying the hard approach now. Our eyes met, and I was still on his lap. Something beneath me felt uncomfortably firm. Lucas Roberts looked at me with a calm face, almost as if he could see right through me. I was sure my feelings for him were written all over my face by then. He had to have noticed by now. The thought made me blush, and I fled in embarrassment. I could already imagine how Lucas Roberts was mocking me internally, seeing me as just another foolish girl trying to flirt with him. But I didn't give up. In fact, I became even more determined, finding any excuse to visit his office. Then, one day, I attended a party with my father, and I saw him confronting Lucas Roberts. My father, head held high, barely regarded the young man before him. This time, Mr. Roberts, you won the bid again. I must admit, your methods are impressive. What's the matter, Mr. Whitlock? Feeling envious? Lucas replied casually. We'll see about that. With a personality like yours, I wonder which poor girl will be unlucky enough to marry you. I had heard about my father's business rivalry with Lucas Roberts, but I hadn't expected their personal relationship to be this strained. The conversation continued, with Lucas leaning nonchalantly against the doorframe. Indeed, it would be rather unfortunate. By the way, your daughter seems to have taken quite an interest in me. I wonder if someone's trying to gather information from me, or perhaps, Mr. Whitlock, you're aiming for an indirect approach, hoping to have me call you father-in-law someday. No wonder my father couldn't stand Lucas Roberts. He was all swagger, arrogance, and sharp-tongued cruelty, hidden behind a facade of indifference. Standing around the corner, I felt a chill run through my heart. Sure enough, my father confronted me later that night. Susan Whitlock, when did you become so blind? That boy is clearly no good. He scolded. I fidgeted with my fingers. Dad, you don't understand him at all. If I catch you going near him again, I'll end him myself. I couldn't understand why Lucas Roberts would see me as some kind of corporate spy. My feelings for him were genuine. I had to set things straight. So when the opportunity arose, I approached him after an event. He looked effortlessly handsome with his tie loosened, and his sharp jawline defined in the dim light. I'm not approaching you because of my father. You've got it all wrong, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh? And then what? He replied, a hint of amusement in his voice. You know very well. I tried to keep my temper in check. Lucas Roberts chuckled. He hadn't given much thought to this, assuming my little act of infatuation would blow over soon enough. Now, he looked me over briefly. What do you even like about me? The question caught me off guard. After a moment, I managed to stammer, you're handsome. That I know. What else? He was truly full of himself. As arrogant as he was, it was the truth. Lucas Roberts toyed with the cigarette in his hand, his expression mildly patient. Look, we're not suited for each other. With your naivety, any other guy would have had you wrapped around his finger by now. If you're willing, we could just be friends. I was just a girl with a bit of vanity. Having a handsome, wealthy male friend was certainly appealing. But still, I insisted, we could try to get to know each other better before jumping to conclusions. Lucas paused, then clicked his tongue. Fine, we date, we sleep together, we break up. Then what? You're going to write me a long heartfelt message after reading some sappy self-help articles. And I'll tell you how good your writing is. His tone was mocking, and his words stung. My face flushed with anger and embarrassment. I wouldn't write you a damn thing. And for the record, I don't even like you that much. And you know what? You're just a big phony. I turned to leave, but Lucas grabbed my coat hood and pulled me back. What am I faking? Who was the one running to my office, sitting on my lap, and now can't even own up to it? I owned it. You're no good either, always so slick with words. How many girls have you charmed like this? Don't start labeling me like your dad does. Why so quick to judge? I wanted to salvage some dignity. Anyone who marries you is bound to be miserable. Lucas laughed, his smile enigmatic. You know, if I end up single, maybe Miss Whitlock should be my unfortunate wife? I wanted to tear his smile off his face, but my ears burned under his teasing gaze. For a while after that I avoided contacting him. His chat window sat idle on my phone. I tried distracting myself by talking to other guys my friends set me up with. But you know what it's like to chat with 10 men when your mind keeps drifting back to that one man. One of those guys randomly confessed his feelings and asked me out for a late-night snack. I didn't know how to respond. It seemed like a perfect excuse to reach out to Lucas Roberts. I sent him a screenshot and asked what I should do. He replied, "Have you met him? How long have you been chatting?" "No, only 3 days." "Block him." Hope flickered in my chest. Why? After what felt like an eternity. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, my phone buzzed. His voice was low, tinged with the background noise of the outdoors. "Girl, while you're hesitating, he's probably already booked a room." Not giving up, I tried to push him further. Texting back, "He seems to care about me a lot." His reply came quickly this time. "Then go throw yourself at him. Why ask me?" In that instant, my heart sank, weighed down by disappointment and bitterness. I finally understood Lucas Roberts really didn't like me. About half an hour passed without any response from me, and then another message popped up. "Have you blocked him yet?" I sniffed, tears threatening, and replied with a simple yes. Then, impulsively, I blocked Lucas Roberts. I decided it was time to end this naive infatuation. But people shouldn't make decisions at night. The next day regret set in. I realized he might not even know I had blocked him. And my one-sided drama had gone unnoticed. I told myself to let go, even if it hurt a little. I thought that was the end of us. Until one night, I stayed out late with my friends, trying to drown my heartache. I came home to find the power to the door lock had run out. My mom had passed away early. Dad was away on business, and even the housekeeper was on leave. I stood at the door, rain pouring down, with no way to get to a hotel, and my best friend too drunk to answer her phone. Desperate, I unblocked Lucas Roberts and called him. It was already past midnight. He answered in a groggy, irritated voice. "Who is it?" He was doing it on purpose. I knew I was in the wrong. So I spoke softly. "It's me." "Oh, Miss Whitlock, didn't you block me?" "Thought you'd given up trying to reel me in," he said, his voice tinged with annoyance, like he had been stewing over something. "Speak up," Lucas prompted impatiently when I hesitated. I gathered my courage. "Could you come and pick me up?" He sighed. "Where are you?" "Outside my house." "The lock's dead. I can't get in." "Where's your dad?" "He's away on a trip." There was a moment of silence on the line. I could hear the rustling of him putting on clothes and his low muttering, "Damn it. Why do I always end up doing this?" He kept grumbling as he dressed. "Am I your dad, or is he? Always talking shit, and now he's left his daughter for me to deal with." I felt a pang in my heart. "Aren't we friends? Are you coming to get me or not?" Lucas's voice turned cold. "You're my ancestor. Send me the address." He was so harsh. By the time Lucas Roberts arrived, the rain had nearly stopped, reduced to a light drizzle. His elbow rested on the car window, a red glow at his fingertips as he smoked, the rising smoke blending with the misty rain. It was the first time I'd seen him without his usual suit, in just a white t-shirt. He had a surprisingly youthful look. "Are you waiting for an invitation to get in?" He turned his head to glance at me. I quickly ran to the car and instinctively reached for the back door. "Susan Whitlock, do you think I'm your chauffeur?" Reluctantly, I got into the passenger seat, and he drove me to his place. Lucas Roberts, of course, took the opportunity to lecture me the entire way. You didn't notice the door lock's battery was low a few days ago? How did your dad raise you to be this clueless? And coming home alone at night, with no friends to walk you. Are you too trusting of men or just reckless? He talks a lot. I wanted to argue back, but then Lucas frowned and asked, "Don't tell me you went for that late-night snack with that jerk?" Instinctively I denied it. No way, I'm not that dumb. But we did say goodnight to each other last night. I watched his face closely, hoping to catch a reaction. Unfortunately, Lucas Roberts remained expressionless, casting me a cool glance. How sweet. I'm almost rooting for you too. I was at a loss for words. The next moment, Lucas Roberts casually pulled off his white t-shirt in front of me. His skin was pale, with defined abs, broad shoulders, and a narrow waist. He looked quite strong. I blushed without realizing it. He put on a fresh shirt and caught me staring. "What are you looking at?" Flustered, I looked away, feeling embarrassed for no reason. "Your body's nothing special, like a scrawny middle schooler. Not worth looking at." Lucas Roberts scoffed, not bothered by my jab, and took off his shirt again. Purposefully, he stepped closer, exuding an air of arrogant confidence. "Then I'll make you look." God help me. I didn't know where to look. "Put your shirt on." Lucas shook his head. "No, I won't." "What are you going to do about it?" "Kill me." This jerk. He moved closer, and I stepped back until I stumbled, my body lurching forward. My lips brushed against his collarbone. In that instant, the air turned electric. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. The warm skin, the fleeting touch, it all happened so fast. I saw Lucas's Adam's apple bob, and even his ears turned red. "What are you doing?" he asked. "What do you think?" I shot back. Lucas's expression grew uneasy. "Sleep." He paused, his face still flushed where I had kissed him. "I mean, let's just sleep in separate rooms." I was too embarrassed to argue. "Where should I sleep?" "The couch." "No way, I want to sleep in your bed." I realized what I'd said just as the words left my mouth, and I tried to explain. Lucas's eyes flickered with something unreadable. "Oh, so that's how you want to play it? Want to sleep on top of me too?" I couldn't even look at him. "I mean, I want to sleep in the master bedroom." I expected him to mock me for having high demands, but instead, he muttered something like, "Damn, you're a handful," under his breath, and walked past me. Actually, this wasn't the first time I'd met Lucas Roberts. I had my dad's foresight to thank for buying a townhouse in a high-end development, about 7 or 8 years ago. I'd only been living there a short while when I first heard the name Lucas Roberts. The Roberts family had been in business for 3 generations, and his mother was especially well known. In Central City, everyone knew who Lucas Roberts' mother was. Back then, I was in middle school, and Lucas was a freshman in high school. There were many kids in the neighborhood, and they often pulled me into playing house, making me play the mom. One day, Lucas had just come home from school and got dragged into playing too. He didn't want to disappoint the kids, so he played the dad, but he couldn't be bothered to move much. We sat together, pretending to eat mud pies. We didn't talk, but I stole a few glances at him. I didn't know what a crush was back then. But something started to bloom in my heart when I saw him again at a party after I'd graduated from college. Now here I was, sleeping in his bed in his house. The scent of wood and lemons filled the air. I finally drifted off to sleep and dreamed of Lucas Roberts. In the dream, he bent down to kiss me and asked if I wanted to be his girlfriend. Before I could answer, I woke up. Oh God! Here I am, dreaming about him just because I'm sleeping in his bed. Susan Whitlock, you're such a pervert. The house was quiet. Lucas Roberts wasn't up yet. To repay him for picking me up last night, I decided to make him breakfast. I rummaged through his fridge and made some egg toast. As I waited, I couldn't help but dance a little, feeling in a good mood. "If I die, will you dance like that to bring me back?" Startled, I turned around to see Lucas Roberts leaning against the doorframe, watching me nonchalantly. This guy's mouth is like poison. Didn't you like it? Even if I did, you'd just get mad if I told you. I wanted to smack him over the head with the frying pan. I enjoyed my breakfast. But Lucas barely touched his. Why aren't you eating? Not used to it. I bit my lip. A little shy. If you want, I can make you breakfast every day. Thanks, breakfast lady. Lucas couldn't help but laugh, his gaze lingering on me. You're not bad looking, but God knows what's going on in your head. You're just asking to be fooled by men. It seemed like he understood women, or maybe just the ugly side of men very well. Maybe he'd experienced a lot and learned the hard way. Have you been in a lot of relationships? Lucas took a leisurely sip of water. Never had one. I rolled my eyes. Who'd believe that? To a man, if you haven't slept with someone, it's not really a relationship. Wow. What a player. After spending so much time around him, it felt like I was relearning what it meant to be a man. I came to a conclusion. So, those who don't do relationships are the ones who play around the most. Lucas, looking all saintly, suddenly raised an eyebrow. Should I get a lawyer and have a word with you about slander? I shrugged and continued eating, not wanting to prolong the conversation. After a while, I looked up and noticed Lucas still staring at me. What's up? He smiled. Have you been in a relationship? I nodded confidently. Of course. Did he dump you? Thinking back to that messy breakup, I got angry again. As if I caught him chatting up other girls and dumped him first. Lucas seemed amused. Was he better looking than me? Well, definitely not, but I didn't want to feed his ego. Yeah, maybe just a bit. Lucas's mood shifted, his voice turning cold. You must be blind. I never told my father about spending the night at Lucas Roberts's place. Things quieted down again. Sometimes I'd open our chat window, but there was never much reason to contact him. That night's flirtation felt like a dream, neither of us brought up again. Meanwhile, the guy I hadn't managed to block was still sending me messages. I hesitated to block him since he was a friend of a friend. I stared at the message that read "I miss you" and had no idea how to respond. So I turned to my relationship coach and friend. Lucas, how do I respond to this in a high emotional intelligence way? Lucas replied within seconds. Lean in close and whisper. Be careful, I'm high EQ. Okay, scratch that. He's no relationship coach. I didn't reply. Lucas sent a voice message, still haven't blocked him. Did you actually whisper that to him, like a damn fool? His tone was low, grumpy even, if you ignored the sarcasm. I typed back slowly. Planning to block him, but he's got that cute puppy look, and his family's well off. Lucas, puppy look. Loaded family. Sounds like a real dog. I was starting to think Lucas Roberts might have some deep-seated disdain for other men. Later, my dad lost out to Lucas Roberts on a project, and could only scrape some small benefits from following his lead. Due to some issues, the contract needed revising. So we had to discuss extending the deadline with the Roberts Group. After our last conversation about dog qualities, I hesitated before calling Lucas Roberts, quickly explaining the situation. Lucas didn't say anything, and I found myself staring at my shoes, feeling awkward. Finally, he chuckled. Susan Whitlock, do you only think of me when you need something? What was he talking about? Is he a Capricorn or something, all moody like that? So, Mr. Roberts, can you grant an extension? What's our relationship? Why should I help you? We're friends. If not, then cough up that breakfast I made you. I still remember that day. When he said he wasn't used to eating breakfast, but ended up finishing every bite. Lucas Roberts didn't say anything else. Just left me with a next time, don't expect this again. Finally, the contract was hastily finalized. The partner meeting was scheduled at the Roberts Group headquarters. My dad was still away on a business trip, maybe too busy with work. Or perhaps looking for my future stepmother. Either way, he didn't have time to deal with me. I found myself reevaluating my relationship with Lucas Roberts. We called ourselves friends, but there was something that felt a bit off. On the phone, my best friend Kiki Brown offered her insight. From my experience, if a guy says no, but wants to be friends, he's probably just trying to keep you hanging. With my limited experience in love, I wondered if it could really be that complicated. I had about half an hour before the meeting started, and someone came over to chat with me. After some light conversation when they left, I looked up to see Lucas Roberts standing a little distance away. I had no idea how long he'd been there. He walked over. "Done flirting?" "What? Are you jealous?" I asked. Lucas gave me a sideways glance. "Where's the contract?" I raised my hands. "I just gave it to your assistant." I thought of something. "Can I ask you a question? Answer me from a guy's perspective." My friend confessed to a guy, but he rejected her and said they could still be friends. "Why would he do that?" Lucas smirked, the smile not reaching his eyes. "If you're really that bored, why don't you go play in the dirt? Seeing you flirt is one thing, but now you want me to solve emotional problems too. What do you take me for?" I swallowed hard, raising my voice. "I wasn't flirting. Just answer my question." Lucas sighed internally. Maybe he was having a brain glitch, but he actually thought about it for a moment. It's like eating something tasteless but still too good to throw away. Suddenly, everything clicked for me. "So you're just like other men, thinking the same way." Lucas seemed to realize something and almost laughed in anger. "Did I ask you out for a late-night snack? Did I take advantage of you? Is that what you think of me?" He looked like he was on the same wavelength as me, but I was playing mind games with him. I wanted to argue back but knew I'd lose. I waved my hand. "I'm going to the conference room." Lucas wouldn't let it go, taking a step closer. "Say what you mean clearly." Just then, a group of partners appeared around the corner, heading in our direction. Lucas still had my wrist in his grasp, and I was starting to sweat. It wasn't the misunderstanding that worried me. I was more concerned about what my father would do if he found out I had been seen with Lucas Roberts. Thinking quickly, I turned my head. "Mr. Roberts, stop calling me baby. I know you want to marry into my family, but I really don't like you. If you want, we could just be friends." The partners in the distance froze, suddenly pretending to look at the sky, the ground, or rummage through their pockets. The atmosphere was busy, yet unbearably awkward. Lucas Roberts kept staring at me. While he was still processing, I took the opportunity to pull away from his grasp and make a run for it. If I wasn't mistaken, I thought I saw a smirk tug at the corner of his lips. A brief flicker of amusement. That smile, it was terrifying. Throughout the rest of the meeting, I deliberately avoided looking toward the head of the table. Even with my head down, I couldn't shake the feeling that his gaze kept flickering in my direction. It was even scarier. During that time, I dreaded Lucas Roberts confronting me about the incident. Fortunately, with the project underway, he was too busy to find the time. And then my dad returned. Of course, the gossip reached his ears. "That damn kid is after my daughter again," he fumed before arranging a blind date for me, singing praises of the guy. When I showed up, I found myself face to face with my college ex-boyfriend, Uriel Hadley. "Susan, I've always regretted agreeing to break up. Now fate has brought us together. So, what do you think?" I cut him off. "Not a chance." Grabbing my bag, I prepared to leave, only to see a familiar face walking through the door. Lucas Roberts. In the few seconds I was stunned. Uriel Hadley also noticed him and jumped up. "Mr. Roberts. What a coincidence. Would you like some coffee?" "My treat." Lucas glanced over, his eyes briefly sweeping past Uriel before settling on me. His expression didn't change, but his lips curved slightly. "Sure." Uriel, looking both flattered and nervous, moved to give him a seat. Unexpectedly, Lucas Roberts made his way over and sat down right next to me. Raising an eyebrow, he asked, "What are you doing with my girl?" "Help." "What is he saying?" Fortunately, his voice wasn't loud. Uriel, busy ordering coffee, didn't seem to notice. He turned back with a smile. Mr. Roberts, today's been full of surprises. My family set me up on a blind date. And it turns out, it's with my ex-girlfriend. Isn't that something? I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles, especially since I'd once claimed that my ex was better looking than Lucas Roberts. Well, if I'm being honest, Uriel Hadley hadn't improved his looks over the past 2 years. He was still nothing to write home about. Lucas maintained his calm demeanor. Why don't you two go ahead and introduce yourselves? This guy had too many tricks up his sleeve. I couldn't take it anymore, and was about to say something when Uriel Hadley eagerly jumped in, trying to show off. My family specializes in construction logistics. Our annual profits, well, it's not appropriate to say. But if Mr. Roberts has any projects, feel free to contact me. He handed over a business card and continued, now looking at me. My father built our business from the ground up. We've stabilized in the city, and since I joined after graduation, the next 10 years will be promising. Susan, if you're with me, you'll. Lucas, appearing increasingly bored, interrupted him. Can you get to the point? Uriel gave an awkward smile. Well, it's not bad. Pretty standard. Susan, I know you might not forgive me right away. But with Mr. Roberts here as a witness, opportunities are for those who are prepared. I will definitely. People with no chance shouldn't bother preparing. All right, they've had their say. Now it's my turn. Are you both out of your minds? Lucas raised an eyebrow at Uriel across the table. Did you hear that? I meant both of you. Are you crazy? Lucas paused, frowning as he turned to me. What did I do? Just look at him, he's barely 180 pounds, including crap. Is that what you liked before? My temper flared. It's just a blind date. Why are you making such a fuss? Lucas let out a cold laugh. I'm being a good friend and you think I want to argue? You're going on a blind date with your ex-boyfriend. So what? A few sweet words, a little apology, and you're going to forgive him. Girl, have you ever had a normal relationship? Have you met any normal people? He was getting angry for no reason. Uriel Hadley, across the table, blinked in confusion. Stunned, he hesitated, then excused himself, saying he had something to do. I stayed seated. I never thought about getting back together with him. And you know what? You're being really harsh. I stood up with a cold expression and left. Late at night, I shot up in bed. What the hell? He's really got issues. Why did I have to get scolded by him? He's not my dad. I suddenly remembered his words. I'm being a good friend. As a friend, he was trying to look out for me, making sure I didn't make the same mistake twice. Sure, he meant well. But did he have to be so mean about it? I couldn't let this go. Ignoring the slight disappointment in my heart, I picked up my phone to send him a scathing reply. My fingers paused. About half an hour ago, Lucas Roberts had sent a message. I'm sorry. I stared at those 3 words. So he knew he'd upset me. What did you do wrong? Lucas Roberts, I shouldn't have been rude and interrupted your blind date. And I shouldn't have snapped at you. I could almost picture him typing that message, head down, probably regretting his actions. Satisfied with his apology, I was about to reply when, suddenly, 10 transfer notifications popped up. I counted the digits. Each transfer was 5 figures. I used to roll my eyes when friends bragged about getting gifts or money transfers. I'd always scoff, saying I didn't envy them, that I could buy whatever I wanted. But now, looking at these transfers, I couldn't help but grin from ear to ear. Lucas Roberts was incredibly charming in this moment. I calmly replied, I'll take the money, but you can keep the sentiment. Don't do something so random again. I was staying at Kiki Brown's place that night. Seeing me still awake, she asked, What's got you smiling? Come play some games with me. My boyfriend's really good at this. Since I wasn't sleepy, I agreed. The online boyfriend who you scammed out of $3,000 bucks? You two made up again? I've told you what you're doing is not ethical. Kiki waved me off. You're my friend, not my judge. I've got my own plans for that. The game started and we had voice chat on. I heard the guy's voice, deep and nice sounding. So online dating has standards too. Kiki shouted, Susan Whitlock. Get over here and join the group. I maneuvered my character around, attacking with a swift strike. My hand slipped, and the phone flew out of my grasp, smacking right into my nose and hitting my eye. The edge of the phone left a small cut on my nose, and Kiki gasped, grabbing my hand. Don't touch it. I'll get the first aid kit. Don't move. I blinked. Everything's kind of blurry. I'd read stories online about people having retinal detachment from getting hit like this. My heart pounded as Kiki rushed me to the hospital. On the way, she suddenly remembered something. Oh no, I think I told my boyfriend we're going to the second hospital. What if he shows up too? Amid Kiki's anxious ramblings about meeting her boyfriend in person for the first time, I checked my phone. My vision seemed to be improving a bit. Before we started the game, Lucas Roberts had sent another message. Are you still mad? I stared at the screen. No way could I tell him I got hit by my phone. He'd laugh himself to death. At the entrance to the ophthalmology department, there were already 2 people waiting. One of them was Lucas Roberts. What is this? Some kind of twisted fate. Well, all the handsome ones do tend to hang out together. Before I could dwell on it, I went in to see the doctor. Thankfully, the examination showed no serious issues. When Lucas Roberts came in, he didn't look happy. The doctor was disinfecting my wound and asked cautiously, Miss, are you sure this was from a phone? I blinked in surprise. And Lucas Roberts seemed to understand instantly. He sighed in frustration, explaining, I didn't hit her. I must have looked dazed because I saw the corners of Lucas Roberts' mouth twitch into a brief smile. The doctor relaxed too, applying a bandage to my nose and instructing me not to get it wet before sending me on my way. In the hallway, Lucas Roberts handed me his jacket. Put this on. I mumbled my thanks. What's your connection to Kiki Brown's boyfriend? Why did you come together? Lucas glanced at my face as if he was searching for any signs of injury. He's my cousin. He got nervous about meeting up and dragged me along. Oh, I noticed he kept staring at me and bit my lip. If you want to laugh, just laugh. Lucas didn't say anything, his gaze dropping. He sighed softly and reached out, gently brushing my loose hair back, as if checking for other injuries. Does it hurt? He asked quietly. Seriously, you're an adult and you managed to hurt yourself with your phone. You're lucky it wasn't anything serious. As he leaned in closer, I could see the details of his face. The length of his lashes, the color of his eyes. His touch, warm and soft against my skin, sent a tingling sensation down my spine. Tonight, he seemed even more attractive. The kind of attractive that would have women lined up at his door the moment I left. He wore a black shirt, looking effortlessly elegant, exuding a kind of dangerous charm. Previously, my pursuit of him had been driven by the thrill of the chase, a shallow attraction to his looks. I had been happy to be his friend even after being rejected. But now, my heart was pounding. I think I really do like him. Our eyes met, and Lucas Roberts seemed to realize that his actions were a bit too intimate. He awkwardly dropped his hand. So, is that why you didn't reply to my message? He asked. In the next moment, I stood on my tiptoes and pressed a light kiss to the corner of his mouth. When Kiki Brown and her boyfriend returned, Lucas and I were still standing there. My cheeks were flushed red, and his ears were a bright pink. What did the doctor say? Are you two running a fever or something? Kiki asked. I didn't dare look at Lucas, quickly grabbing Kiki and saying, It's nothing serious. Let's go home. I'm really tired. Late that night, sleep eluded me again. My phone lit up, and under the message I hadn't replied to, a new one appeared. Lucas Roberts, what did that mean? I closed my eyes, unsure how to explain. I couldn't exactly say I couldn't resist kissing him at the moment. Could I? Regret washed over me. I didn't reply. Lucas Roberts spent the rest of the night sleepless, hooked by my lack of response. The next day, Kiki Brown said her boyfriend was inviting us to dinner and asked me to join. I knew Lucas Roberts would be there, but I hadn't expected it to be at his house. For some reason, things had become awkward between us. With the cut still on my nose, Lucas quietly replaced my drink with hot tea. Midway through, Kiki drank too much, and her boyfriend accompanied her to the bathroom. The table was a mess, and Lucas Roberts looked at me calmly. "Did you sleep well last night?" I nodded. "Pretty well. What do you think?" "I guess you slept well too." Lucas let out a bitter laugh, his eyes unreadable. "Susan Whitlock, if you're trying to reel me in, do it properly. What's the deal with pretending nothing happened?" He sounded genuinely aggrieved. I was taken aback. "Aren't we friends?" "To hell with being friends," Lucas blurted out. "I'm crazy about you, okay? Happy now?" The restaurant was quiet, just the two of us. Was this a confession? What was I supposed to say next? My face warmed, and I turned away, breaking the silence. "Well, do you want to kiss?" Lucas seemed taken aback, his fair skin making the blush spreading from his ears all the more obvious. A moment ago, he looked like the world owed him $50 million. But now his ears had turned a deep red. "Huh?" I repeated, "Do you want to kiss?" Lucas's Adam's apple bobbed slightly. "It's not impossible." I nodded, then paused, reaching out to pinch his cheek as he leaned closer and pointed at the messy table. "I meant, should we clear the table first?" Lucas's ears turned an even deeper red. He straightened up, glanced at me, and obediently started clearing the table, muttering under his breath, "You're crazy." I stood by, trying hard not to laugh. Wasn't he supposed to be the expert on men and women, the smooth player? Why did he suddenly seem like an awkward rookie at this? When Kiki returned, she wanted to keep drinking, but thankfully, we managed to stop her. The couple across from us playfully bickered, and I realized Lucas hadn't had much to drink. "Why aren't you drinking?" Lucas looked relaxed. "I don't want to drink too much and not be able to go home." "This is your house." "I meant you." "Damn it. Who's leading who on here?" That night, Lucas Roberts still ended up driving me home. The driver stopped the car, opened the door, and stepped out. A breeze blew, bringing the lingering effects of alcohol. Lucas leaned against the car door, not in a hurry to leave. Seeing his soft gaze, I guessed he'd had another drink, pushing him closer to tipsy. "Go home before you catch a cold," I told him. Lucas tilted his head, smiling. "You care about me." "Of course. Otherwise, someone will whine and make me take responsibility." Lucas laughed, his shoulders shaking with mirth, his eyes holding a deep warmth. After a long pause, he looked at me. "Mind the smell of alcohol?" I didn't understand. "Not really." "Why?" Then, a shadow fell over me. He grabbed my waist, pulling me closer, one hand cradling my cheek, and he leaned down, capturing my lips in a kiss. The taste of alcohol filled my senses, warm, mingling deep. I could only hear my heart beat, and in that moment, all thoughts faded away. In the distance, the lights of the living room were still on. My dad was probably watching TV while Lucas Roberts kissed me outside. My tongue tingled, the intimacy overwhelming. In that instant, our so-called pure friendship shattered. I didn't know how long we kissed before Lucas slowly pulled back, speaking each word carefully. "Will you be my girlfriend?" It took me a while to find my voice, my face burning, heart racing. "That's not what you said before." Didn't he say something about being crazy about me? Lucas's arms tightened around me, pulling me into his embrace. It's embarrassing to say it now. When did he become so shy? It made me feel shy too, not knowing what else to say. After a few more seconds, his breath ghosted over my skin, sending shivers deep into my heart. "Susan Whitlock, I like you." Will you be my girlfriend? His face was buried in the crook of my neck, his breath tickling. Please. I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from lifting. Breathing in his scent, it felt surreal. Who would have thought I'd end up with him? The streetlights cast a dim glow, and I blushed, gently pushing him. Let go of me first. No. You haven't answered. The warmth tangled with my emotions, leaving me with no resistance. Leaning into his chest, I whispered, "It tickles. Move away." But he didn't seem to hear. His kisses trailed up my neck, and our lips met again, more passionately this time. We stayed like that for a while, entwined. Finally, he mercifully let me go, using his thumb to wipe the moisture from the corner of my mouth. Tonight? You have to say goodnight to me. I was still lost in the moment. Not quite understanding. Why? Lucas raised an eyebrow and leaned in to nibble on my lip. If others have it, I want it too. Only then did I remember that I'd once told him I said goodnight to someone else on purpose. This petty man. I didn't tell my dad about my relationship with Lucas Roberts. However, lately my dad had been in a good mood. The reason? A few major projects Roberts' group had pulled out of the bids and even recommended Mr. Whitlock to take the lead. Testing the waters, I said. Dad. Lucas Roberts isn't so bad, you know. Old Whitlock nodded. I don't know what he's up to. Has he lost his mind? I hesitated before probing further. I heard he has a girlfriend now. Old Whitlock, a good-natured man who played by the rules in business, had his reasons for his feud with Lucas Roberts, who was both shrewd and cunning. Even now, old Whitlock could separate business from personal feelings, saying, "That kid can talk and make money. The heavens are fair. Can't let him have everything, can we?" It seemed there were still some lingering grudges, so now wasn't the time to reveal the truth. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. That night, after dinner, Lucas Roberts walked me home. The distance wasn't far, so we walked instead of driving. Were you busy today? I asked. Lucas rubbed my hand with his thumb. Meetings, signing documents, reviewing files, and of course, keeping our relationship under wraps. He spoke with his usual sarcastic flair, making it hard to get angry at him. It's not the right time yet. I deflected, then asked, "Did you miss me today?" Lucas looked amused, smirking. "Missing you doesn't count as busy. It's just part of my daily routine." He was good with words, as always. Quietly smug, Capricorn man. Caught up in our conversation, we soon reached my front door. My heart sank the moment my dad called. "Sweetheart, where are you?" A sense of dread washed over me. "Dad, I'm almost home." "Have you had dinner yet?" Old Whitlock chuckled. "I've eaten. Now bring that monkey you've got on a leash over to say hello." The end.